I welcome you all to the another session from the guest speaker session from the Innovative Astro Solutions. So today we are going to have a very special session from E.K. Dilip Kumar. So before introducing him, let me start with a quiz for the day. So for that, what you have to do is you have to join at slido.com, slido.com, and give the passcode as 82275. If you're working in a desktop or mobile, whatever it may be, go to the slido.com. Okay, I start getting the responses. So there will be a live poll. So please answer according to your wish. Nice to see a lot of response coming there. I'll wait a few more minutes to get some more response. For people who are joining just now, log into slido.com and give the passcode as 82275. You should be able to see this live poll. Okay, I got good number of response. Let me jump into the next poll. Please type in your response. Great, good response. Good to see the participation. Oh, great response. Bank balance, zero sum game. Interesting responses. As of now, the effects of action has got the more points. I'll wait for 1 more minute for people to respond. Cycle of cause and effect, judgment. Good and bad deeds. Justice. Let me see if I get few more response. Okay, I think it's good to go. So let me start with the session today. So today we are going to discuss on very important topic, and it is very interesting topic in the Vedic astrology. The theory of karma is the most important phenomenon without which no one can explain the disparities in human life. And of course, the theory of karma and astrology have a very interesting relationship. Hence, one cannot appreciate the purpose of astrology unless understand the concept of karma. So because of this reason, in my fundamental course, I have spent a lot of time explaining what is karma and how the astrology is related. But I always wanted my students to know more about this topic. And because of that, I have invited the expert in this topic, Mr. E.K. Dilip Kumar. He is a well-known astrologer from South India. He holds MSc master degree in science from Loyola and Presidency College. And in 2019, that's when I wrote my first book, and I wanted to share with Dilip Kumar sir to get his feedback. And he kindly accepted to receive my book, and he gave me a very encouraging feedback actually. So in the same year, I got an opportunity to meet him at his residence and to discuss on various topics, which I will never forget. And I always wanted to collaborate with him to teach Vedic astrology. So we will definitely collaborate to bring more quality contents to you all. So thank you, Dilip sir, for accepting this to teach this topic to my students. Before I hand over the session to Dilip sir, make sure that you all put yourself on mute so that the presentation will not be interfered. And in case if you have any questions in between, feel free to post them in this Slido. So the place where you already attended the polls, there will be a tab where you can ask the Q&A. So while presentation is going, whatever questions that comes to your mind, please capture there. So at the end of the presentation, we will allocate some 30 minutes for Q&A. So Dilip sir will answer all your queries. So without further delay, I will invite Dilip sir to take over the presentation. Thank you, sir. Thank you and welcome.
So today we are going to speak about karma and astrology with regard to what you can do about your karma using astrology. So the objective of the horoscope or the knowledge of astrology is primarily meant to be a tool for you to make things more positive in your life, change your karma. So with the horoscope, you always find out what is in store, but you should not accept it as an unchangeable future. No doubt the past is definitely having an effect on us. In the same way, yesterday has an effect on today. So to that extent, it is predictable. But at the same time, as long as it is positive, you can simply go along with the flow. But if there are challenges, then you should focus on how to change your destiny. Is this a new concept? Definitely not, because from ancient times, the Maharshis of astrology have always been suggesting what is called Prayashchit. Now, Prayashchit actually means the atonement, almost similar to what Jesus Christ kept insisting, repent, the kingdom of God is at hand. So what it actually means is, if you can repent for your sins, then you have made the first move in altering your karma. But whenever we talk about karma, there are two types. One is that which you are actually creating in this life. And another one is what you have created already in past lives. And it need not be only the past life. It can be the sum total of all the lives that you had lived before. For this, I always use the example of our classroom. Okay? And in our class, in our school days, you moved from first standard to second standard, and second to third, and third to fourth, and so on. So just think about this, compare it to your many lives. But you know that whatever you experience in sixth has had a great bearing on what you have done, not only in fifth, but also in fourth, also in the third standard, and so on. So it's just actually building up as one single account. There are no multiple accounts here. It's just one account. And what are you at any given point in time? So astrology becomes a great tool to understand the past, because without it, it's very difficult to find out. unless you meet a great yogi who has the power to see your past. It's believed that the Buddha could easily see the past when a person goes and stands in front of him. There are many yogis who could have done that. But for the rest of us, it's so difficult. And the easiest way to do it is you study your horoscope and get to know about where the faults are. So this is actually, according to me, the only purpose of astrology. And with that, we are moving into the PowerPoint presentation. You see here, this is just to get you started. It's almost like a joke. Arthur C. Clarke, I like to quote this often. You can read it out. I don't believe in astrology. I am a Sagittarius, or maybe Sagittarian, but he didn't know how to write it. So I think he wrote it as I am a Sagittarius. And we are skeptical. Sagittarians are always skeptical. They always doubt, but they're very intelligent. But Arthur C. Clarke here, obviously a very famous author of science fiction, he says, I don't believe in astrology because I'm basically a Sagittarius. And Sagittarius are believed to be skeptical. So you find that even if people do not believe in astrology, they can't stop talking about it. It's almost like God. Even if you don't believe, if you're an atheist, the atheist is the one who speaks more about God all the time, much more than the believer. Okay. So Sri Varamira said there is no better boat than a horoscope to help a man cross over the sea of life. Yeah, next slide. So this is Paramahamsa Yogananda. The book that we are referring to is the autobiography of a yogi. And in the previous slide, you saw Sri Yukteswar, the guru of Paramahamsa Yogananda. And this is one of the best quotes on astrology. Swami Sri Yukteswar. A child is born on that day at that hour when the celestial rays are in mathematical harmony with one's individual karma. Okay, that's enough. Basically, what the guru is telling here is, people always think that the planets are the cause of what is happening to you. It's actually the other way around. Your karma is the cause for whatever happens to you, but somehow the planetary positions get aligned with your karma, so that the picture of the planets reveal your karma. And so it's not really that the planets are the cause of karma, but they somehow seem to indicate your karma. So his horoscope is a challenging portrait, revealing his unalterable past. Obviously, the past is not alterable, and its probable future results. The message boldly blazoned across the heavens at the moment of the birth is not meant to emphasize fate. Now, many people have been misusing astrology, and especially beginners do that. They study it and then they get confused, and then they say, my life is all gone because most of the planets are badly placed, and they make it worse. So that's not the idea, because he says, but to arouse man's will to escape from his universal thraldom. What he has done, he can undo. And it's exactly the same thing that Swami Vivekananda says. You created karma, and it's only you who have to undo it. Whatever he has done, he can undo. There's an extract of the same thing. None other than himself was the instigator. So you have to take charge. You should not blame simply, by making statements. What can I do? Saturn is in this house in my horoscope, or this particular combination is there. I will be like this only. So people always use some excuses like that. And people love excuses. And for Indians, there is no problem at all, because they can always say everything is already destined to happen. So what can I do? Whereas if you see the Western world, most of them don't even think about fate, and they're doing fine. So we should know how to handle this information carefully. Next slide. So why should we even discuss astrology or horoscope? Because there are a lot of unanswered questions. Science cannot answer, physics cannot answer, biology cannot answer, medicine cannot answer. There are a lot of questions. And that's the reason why most of the world is always worried about the future possibilities and looking around, is there anything or anybody who can tell me the future? So they end up in ashrams, they end up with Gurujis and Swamijis, or somebody who can do some magic tricks. and they go after one astrologer after the other. But all this is because of the unanswered questions. And even if you're a believer of God, you don't have the right answers because you can't understand why God is not, helping you out. You seem to believe so much in God, you seem to be so devoted, but yet certain things are happening. It looks like he's not listening. So my daughter is well educated, looking good, well mannered, well employed. Still, she's not getting married. Doctors say all our test results are normal, but I'm not able to conceive. I've heard this, believe it or not, in 30 years, hundreds of times. And surprisingly, the same statements have come from the best of doctors. They themselves are doctors and they can't figure out why they're not able to conceive. I've spent my whole time in the interest of my children, giving them the best of everything and sacrificing my personal comforts. But now I have become a liability to them. Okay. This is something about health. I take healthy food, exercise regularly, never touched alcohol in my life, never smoked, what they call as a teetotaler, and now I have got cancer. Why? I've been very good and kind to her. Now my daughter-in-law has filed a section 498 harassment for dowry complaint against me. Why? Do you know that he had dropped out of school without passing his 8th grade, and today he moves about only in Mercedes and has hundreds of people working for him? Why? So these experiences are definitely not in line with the expected results of what we do in this life. Because the normal rule, if somebody works very hard, then we expect success. And if somebody does not work at all, then we expect failure. But sometimes we see just the opposite. Maybe it's due to the deeds in the past lives. Or is there any other way to explain these experiences? Can we say it simply happens without a reason? All events in life is just an event without any cause. Or is there a reason at all? Now here I've showed you a mark sheet, what we call in India as the SSLC certificate. And by looking at this, you find that this person is extremely good because he got a 464. And you can see in maths, he got 100 marks. Now, let's say you don't know anything about him, but suppose I ask you what was he doing in maths class in school? You'll say he was studying very well. He was very attentive in class. So you will get to know many things about him, even though you have not even known him. You don't even know him. And you say, what's the big deal? Because I have the certificate in front of me. And it's so easy to say that. Okay, next slide. So here you see a person not doing so well. And which is a subject that is scored the lowest. Look at maths, 50%. Okay, so from this you can easily infer that he wasn't concentrating on maths. He was not interested. He was not doing justice in the class. He was playing around. Maybe he was reading something else in class. So it's very easy to say that. And from this you project the future. It is actually from here you project the future, which is why people, whenever you go for interview, they don't ask for anything else except the mark sheet and your experience. And from the mark sheet, what are they doing? They use this to project, and all astrologers are doing the same thing. They look at your horoscope and start projecting your future. And that's the reason why no two astrologers will tell the same thing, because it's only a projection system. It's in the way the astrologer looks at it. But the mark sheet is still there. And it is the same thing always. It doesn't change. Now, whenever you buy any gadget, like in this case, a laptop, the manufacturer attaches a service manual giving a lot of details about the laptop, the do's and don'ts, what it is capable of, what you should, how best you can use it, all that. And so, next slide. So do you expect a newborn child so complicated, 1 billion times more complicated than a laptop, would be produced without a manual, a service manual? Okay, so we are comparing this once again to the horoscope that a child is always born with. But people say, I didn't do my horoscope. I don't know what's my horoscope. Doesn't matter, because there is always an invisible horoscope all the time for every person in this world, because he or she was born on a particular date at a particular time and a particular place. So the horoscope is there. Only thing is, it's like saying, I never saw my mark sheet. It doesn't matter. There is a mark sheet. Okay, it was printed. Only you didn't get it. Yeah, next slide. So look around all the things around you. Do you see anything without a plan? Always it all started off with a plan. This is just a, what they call as the floor map. But on this, maybe 100 floors could have come. And all of this began with this plan. This is outline. So consider your horoscope like an outline, a plan. Now, this is the horoscope of one of the most famous actors of India. And even if you don't know much about astrology, you can always look at this and say, oh, something, if you know, this is basically a horoscope where we have the planets like a mark sheet, and some houses are numbered. And so if you know a little bit more, then you can say, oh, I know he's got a lot of planets in the 5th house, and 5th house is house of cinema, entertainment. But who said this? It's already said. It's 5th house is creativity, whatever you create. And that's why it's called the house of children, because you create children. And if you know a little more, you should know that the 10th house is profession, and the lord of the 10th is Venus. The profession planet sits in the house of entertainment. The second lord, which represents money, the lord of that is Mercury, and you can see it sits in the house of movies or entertainment. The lord of 11th, which is called gains, is sitting in the 5th house. So what more do you want? And the 5th lord, Jupiter, sits in the 7th and looks at Lagna. So there is a heavy connection of yogas which this particular person has. So even though he started off his career as a bus conductor at a very low level in life, he went on to become one of the most famous actors, heartthrob in at least South India. And of course, if you want to know a little more about it, you have to study more astrology, and you will know he has got 2nd house Saturn and Ketu and Rahu in the 8th. And the classical books say that if you have 2nd house Ketu and Rahu in the 8th, you're prone to kidney problems, and he had to have a transplant of the kidney. Next slide. So if you look at the idea of what is prashchit, whatever problem is there in your horoscope, you're supposed to use that problem itself to create the medicine. So that's the idea, basic idea, very much like the vaccines that we make. So the vaccine is always created from the disease itself. So in all, whatever is there in astrology as prashchit is usually derived from the same planets. Whatever goes to make up the defects, it is from that you create your medicines. Okay, next slide. So what is the basis of astrological remedies? First thing is, half the battle is won if you are aware of something. It's like saying, I'm aware of the fact that there is a speed breaker in front of me on the road. So I can alter the way I go over the speed breaker. So knowledge is very important. Another way is to simply avoid the problem, because you know it much ahead of time. You don't have to go through it. Or you can compare astrological remedies to private tuition in case you are not able to catch up with the rest of the class. Vaccine idea, which we have discussed in the previous slide. Insurance idea. You pay money up front and then they will protect you. But the money that you pay is much, much less. So if you donate money, if you say, let's say you donate 100 rupees, you could be protected against 10,000 rupees loss. Raincoat idea is to simply protect you so that the effects change, because even if you're walking in the rain, it makes it inconvenient, but it also can save you a lot of problem because you're not going to get drenched at least. Gifting idea. The moment you gift somebody something, the person becomes very friendly to you. So we use this idea with regard to planets that are unfriendly in your horoscope. Pleading method. most people know about this. Naturally, if you plead, things change a lot. Prayers, please, something like that. Please don't do this. There is a great chance the other person can listen to you. So pay and escape is, in India, we do that when a policeman stops you on the traffic. So you pay the money and go away from there. Or the other way is to work harder. This is also a great idea, which is one of the best ideas in Sadhe Sati. Whenever you're going through 7.5-year Saturn, then it's always good, it's one great idea to work harder and harder. So working 8 hours, work for 10 hours and see the difference. Fasting. All this is based upon teaching yourself some discipline, because so far you never cared about food. So you need to know about what is hunger, so that you'll become kind, and whenever you see somebody hungry, you will know what it is. And if you haven't fasted at all, then there's no way you can understand that. Pilgrimage is a great idea because you change your lifestyle. You quit what you have been doing for a long time. In the Western world, it is called holidays. Go out for a 1 month to some other place, but that's only for enjoyment. Exercise builds muscles. Proof that hard work gives you results. Okay, but it's very painful. It's not so easy. All these remedies that we have mentioned here is not so easy, and people do not like to do any of this. Naturally, they do not like it. And so astrological remedies comes at a cost. There must be some pain involved, or some loss of wealth, donations. Very painful, because nobody wants to give their money because all the time they wanted the money for themselves. And above all, faith that this will definitely work. This is going to work. Yeah. And this is the horoscope of one more horoscope, proving astrology. Like we have the horoscope of an ex-Prime Minister of India. And this person, Srimati Indira Gandhi, was born into a very rich background and influential background. And if you look at the horoscope, the Rashi chart, you will be surprised to see 3 sets of Parivartana yogas, where Jupiter and Venus have exchanged houses, Moon and Saturn have exchanged houses, and Jupiter and Mars and Sun have exchanged houses. Apart from that, this is also an example of a Mahabhagya Yoga, where a lady born in a female sign, which is Karkataka, and the Sun, another indicator of the soul, in the female sign, and one more, which is the Moon, in the female sign in the night. If a lady is born, it is called a Mahabhagya Yoga, because the females, the negative signs of the female signs, they have matched up with this person. And of course, beyond that, the horoscope is extremely strong. And if you do a research on why she was assassinated in a particular period, you can get all the answers from this. So by using the horoscopes of celebrities, you can actually prove astrology, because they have a very different, in a unique type of life experiences. Now, this is one of the, the sloka from Brihad Parashara Horashastra, which I often use to say that everything is not prefixed. If the 10th house lord is in the 9th, one born of a royal family will become a king, whereas an ordinary native will be equal to a king. So it looks like it's not fixed whether you will be a king already with this combination. But in case you're already born, you take birth in a royal family, then you will only be the king amongst your siblings. Whereas an ordinary person will be equal to a king, which means he will feel that he has grown so much. Maybe he started off life in a slum dwelling, but later on he would have become a local, politician. So you see this kind of a development in life. You become a leader. So it's not that what you are is already completely fixed, because you see 2 different statements here. Next. One more horoscope to prove astrology, quite easy, Mahatma Gandhi's horoscope. And if you look at this horoscope, you will see that the Jupiter and the Moon and Lagna, they're all in Kendra to each other. And this is one of the combinations for very good type of, an ethical mind. So he was very disciplined, and he followed the instructions as per the Bhagavad Gita. And he used non-violence to fight the British instead of using violence. So, but as you start investigating, you'll soon find out why he was assassinated. So the combination for assassination works in almost all the people who got assassinated, the same combination. So all this is like a pattern. And when you discover these patterns, you prove astrology. And when you prove astrology, you actually prove karma theory. So few people have, luck to be in foreign countries. But many people go to foreign countries just because of what is called an exile yoga. Some go because of a dasha effect. After the dasha, they will have to come back to India or to wherever they belong to. Most people never work abroad. They have luck in motherland. Look at the number of people occupying India. So that means most of the people don't have foreign luck. So anyone can go abroad. All you need is a passport, visa, or ticket, but cannot get the luck in foreign country. So your horoscope will not actually tell you whether you'll go abroad or not, because anybody can actually go. But what it means is, can you settle abroad? Can you work there? It's definitely under the effect of karma. Next. Now, this is also another horoscope of a celebrity, an extraordinary person. And if you use the same example that we used for Rajnikant, who was an actor, and this person was also an actor because before she went on to become the chief minister of Tamil Nadu. Here you find the same idea. The Lord of the fifth, Venus, sits in 10th house. So 5 is entertainment and 10th is profession. And there's also a big Raja Yoga. It gives you kingly powers. But the very important aspect of this horoscope is that in Venus Mahadasha, she made it very big. It started when she was very young, because the first few years she was ruled by Ketu, and then she went on to be ruled for 20 years by what is called as Shukra Mahadasha, Venus Mahadasha. And within those years, since Venus is actually the Karaka for movies or entertainment or anything to do with music and all such related arts, so this Venus gave her such a big boost, and that actually became the stepping stone. And then you also see that Jupiter is in the 7th as the 10th lord in the 7th, which is a Panchamaha Purusha Yoga. So Venus is a Panchamaha Purusha Yoga and Jupiter is a Panchamaha Purusha Yoga, which means they will stand apart. And so single-handedly, she controlled all the people of Tamil Nadu as long as she lived. But if you use the rules for when a person dies, everything is satisfied in her horoscope. She died in Jupiter Mahadasha and Saturn Antardasha, because Jupiter is the planet ruling the house of death and Saturn occupies the house of death because it is in the 2nd house, Marakasthana. So your horoscope can actually be used to know whether you can be, in a job, or should you do a business of your own, be an entrepreneur. So luck for business is usually only 30% of the population. Maybe it is less than that sometimes. 70% of the population are usually employed. So the horoscope will definitely have a lot to do with who can be a business person, and who should remain in job. And if you do not have the combinations for business, and if you want to try business, you will end up losing money. And after losing all the money, you will be forced to go back to job. Yes, next. Next slide. Hello. Yeah, it's over. Was that the last slide? Yeah. From the horoscope, we can know what type of health problems the person will be subjected to, knowing that the person can change his or lifestyle and go for yearly checkup. Now, this is one of the most beautiful, part of astrology, that there's something called the medical astrology. By looking at it, the time the person is born, from the first day of his life, a good astrologer can easily look at the horoscope and say a lot of things about what may happen in the future with regard to health. In health, most of it is already prefixed, because the person took birth according to that karma. So it gets very difficult to change the the health side of your life. For example, Rahu and Saturn influencing the second house or eighth house is danger due to smoking and drinking. If a person has this combination, then quit smoking before the doctors tell you to do so. Troubled marriage is usually very clearly shown in the horoscope, especially the rules are so simple. The seventh house lord is in the sixth, or the sixth house lord is in the seventh. So there are a lot of clues about this, which comes in the horoscope. We have something called Upapada Lagna. Then horoscope matching is a great idea to change your karma, because even though you may have a particular horoscope, you can actually change it by joining a particular person. Like person A, you will get one result. If you join with person B, you will get another result. It's like how you choose a partner in a game, a doubles game like tennis or badminton. And so, if you had played this doubles game, you will know definitely how the partner alters your game, or the output of the game. Also, the correct timing, the marriage also helps. It's called Muhurta idea. If the person marries during very bad times, then marriage may run into trouble. Also, Dasha Bhukti could help a lot. So you could use astrology in several ways, especially in the area of marriage. It's quite useful. If Saturn is the lord of the second or the seventh, then during the main period or the sub period of Saturn, there is the possibility of great danger to life. If a black cow is donated, then the person is protected. Also, Vishnu Sahasranama, Mrityunjaya mantra will protect the person. If Saturn negatively and strongly afflicts the third house or the first house or the seventh, then Vata will be the main disease. So what it actually will be, what you should expect from this combination is, finally it will put us on to the wheelchair. At the highest level, you have paralysis connected to Saturn, maybe something like Parkinson's syndrome. And if you know this much before you get afflicted by this kind of health problems, you should start doing these remedies like donating wheelchairs, etc. You can create your own, remedies once you know the actual logic behind all this. It's not just wheelchair. You could give crutches or foot calipers or anything. And whenever Saturn creates a problem, it's always you get affected in the knee, usually on the left side, and left foot, and left leg, in the full leg itself. And many people develop what is called heel spur, or the backbone problem, where the nerves get trapped, and it leads to severe pain in the legs. This is for those of you who believe in the spiritual side of astrology. And there are 7 chakras. Seven is a very, very magical number in philosophy. So the 7 heavens, the 7 colors, the 7, the music tones, etc. Swaras, we call it. So here we have from Mooladhara to Sahasrara. So, you have all these signs, all these chakras are related to signs. You could see how we have related it. Aquarius and Capricorn ruled by Saturn. You can see the words there, Mooladhara and Saturn. So Saturn always rules all our major concerns in life. That's the reason why we are so much afraid of Saturn. Then the next level is the Swadhisthana, and that is ruled by Jupiter. It is all about reproduction. And sometimes if you put it over the body from head to the sexual organs, you'll see some correlation. For example, you have Swadhisthana, Jupiter connected to our reproduction, where the uterus is. Okay. Then we have Aries and Scorpio as the mountain ram, ruled by Mars, and that is Manipura. Anahata has Venus, and Vishuddha is Mercury. Vishuddha is the throat chakra, and you have the communication. And in the Kala Purusha, it tallies with Mercury anyway. And the Ajna is either the sun or the moon. But the last one is actually beyond the planetary system, because once you get there, there is no returning back. So with the other 6 of them, you keep coming back again and again to take birth. So whenever one dasha starts and a dasha ends, you come into what is called as the crossroads, because you don't know which way to go. And it's usually confusing. This is one of the great proofs of astrology. Like most people complain about it. And the worst junction is the junction between Mercury Mahadasha to Ketu Mahadasha. So a person heading for Ketu Mahadasha should definitely consult their own astrologer and learn a lot about how to handle the upcoming Ketu Mahadasha. So the dasha and antardasha is like your road. You have something like, okay, this road is very good, so there are no warnings. Then we have roads with warnings like slow down, it's dangerous. Dangerous curve is ahead. So it's our maybe accident prone zone. Go slow, caution. Okay, those kind of things. So this is the last but one slide, I think. Who should know about your horoscope? And the final one is you. Maybe you can use an astrologer, consult an astrologer, but it is an information given to you by God or by this universe or by karma, whatever you want, you can call it, but you should know about it. According to me, 90% of the people don't know anything about their own horoscope. They don't even know their ascendants. So that's a very sad thing. So at least know a little bit of it and try to use it as much as possible in your life. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Let me go and activate the Q&A. So you can start in the slido.com. You can log into the slido.com. Provide the
What should I
password.
do?
Right now, you don't have any thing. The
No,
people
I
should
don't have to
ask.
do anything. Okay,
Yes,
okay.
yes. As of now, the people when started asking the question, it will pop up here. So you
Okay,
can choose to answer it actually. So for the
okay.
audience, please log into the slido.com where you attended the poll. There will be a Q&A section. So you can type in your question and it will automatically comes to here. And in case if somebody types the question that you want to ask, you can also upvote. So right
Oh,
now
it's
this
okay.
poll is activated right now. So just a few minutes you can attend this poll, then we can go for a Q&A.
What is the most valuable thing you learned today? Okay.
Let's wait for people to respond. Nice to know that people have understood there is a free will to alter our karma. Right, great response.
Yes. I'm happy that people have understood a lot of things.
I'll wait for a few more minutes for others to respond. Great to know that your kids are listen to it.
Oh, children also listened. Okay.
Nice to know that.
In fact, we should teach the children first because they are going to be the future generation. Superb.
Nice to see great response from people.
That we can be proactive, yes, not to be wary of. Yeah, it is not possible to. How important is it? Yeah.
I'll wait for one more minute. If somebody wants to type in your response, please go ahead. Right. Great. Excellent.
Oh, this itself can be a slide.
Yeah, great to see a lot of response. Thank you. Thank you so much. Let me go to the Q&A now. Yeah, already a lot of Q&As popped up. Sir, you can actually take one after the other. If you want to
Okay.
skip that question, let me know. I will put it in the.
No, we will not skip anything. We'll just go in
Sure.
order. Tell us one easy point where we can know our karma from our horoscope. Okay. The best way to start is you must have this book, Brihat Parashara Horashastra, the Dashadhyaya chapters, which will let you know about the Dasha and Antardasha. And what you need to do is keep your horoscope and think, you just understand what happened to you. For example, today morning, I was reading the horoscope of a person who lost his mother very early. And the reason was Mars was in the fourth house. Okay. So he didn't know why it happened. So I just, took Bhrigu Sutram and flipped the pages and showed it on the camera. He read it for himself. So the first line it says, you lose your mother. And second thing is your father will remarry. And that's what happened. The father was sitting next to the, this person. And if that's not enough, you go through the Dasha scheme. It was the Dasha of that planet itself, Saturn itself. So it's not just that something is there and it accidentally happened and then you pick it up as an example. Everything seems to fit so well. So when you come to know about these events, which is already there in the horoscope, and then rules written 5,000 years ago, they match up properly, then how else could it have happened unless it was all set up, right? So that means that's a proof of karma. But karma has lots of meanings, actually. It's not just one meaning. Karma could be just generally fate, or karma could be the purpose of life. And purpose of life, like people generally think, is moksha, spiritual. No, it's not. It's only your work, the work that was allotted to you. You go and do this work in this life. That particular work is karma. And that's why the 10th house is called the house of karma. So study your 10th house, look at the planets in the 10th house. In Rajinikanth's horoscope, we showed who's the 10th lord, Venus. Where does it sit? It sits in 5th house of name and fame, like that. So you study the horoscopes of all the horoscopes and see the 10th house will be a great revelation. And from that, you get to know about what is the purpose of your life. And one way to know what will be your obstacles in life is where will your problems be. Most probably, they exist in the 6th house, because the 6th house is disease, deaths, and enemies. There is nothing else in our life that affects us other than this, whatever is there in the 6th house. So the 6th house is the major clue. And secondary, you can say 12th house, because 6 and 12 lies on the same axis. So the 6 and 12 axis is the axis of sin of the past life. So if you people have, any one of you have extraordinary problems, just study this axis and try to do the remedies according to that and quickly change the future. Okay, and alter it. That's the best way to go forward.
Okay, let me mark it completed.
Yeah.
The next question you can take.
What is the role of Badak in karma? Actually, this is a redundant term. And sometimes there are some mistakes also in this. For example, people have been using this. It's a cliche. So it's like this word was not used by Maharishi Parashara. Okay, but it's almost also true, but not for every lagna. For example, it's often accepted as for sthira lagnas, the 9th house is Badaka. But Maharishi Parashara never said that. For example, for Aquarius ascendant, Shukra is a great planet, a very good, powerful benefic, a yoga karaka, in spite of being the 9th lord. But for movable lagnas, the Chara lagnas, all the 11th house, which is the Badaka sthana, definitely all of them are malefics, functional malefics. Take Aries, Saturn is a functional malefic. Take Karkataka, Cancer, Venus is a bad planet. So this is just a redundant term. There's no need to introduce this again as a separate term. because as many terms as you introduce, it gets very confusing. All these, the real 11th lords for the Charalagnas definitely create obstacles in income, financial difficulties. Okay. So for common signs, the 7th house interferes in the same, because it's called Badaka. But anyway, for the common sign, the 7th house is Maraka. So there are terms, and so we are just using Badaka as a redundant term, not required. Deal with it as it is stated by Maharishi Parashara. What's the signification of the 8th house and the 6th house in understanding karma? Of the 8th house and 6th house, more karma is packed into the 6th house, and 12th house much more than 8th house. But 8th house has also got some, actually the key word for 8th house is sudden. And within sudden, the human being is not prepared to handle the 8th house. And it's also called the Ayusthana, longevity. And people always say, he's been living so long, 75 years, and suddenly he died. So it's always, transformation. 8th house is transformation. And but also you have good things happening in the 8th. Somebody passed away and then you inherited all the wealth, lottery, surprise. And accidents also happen suddenly, all on a sudden. So the 8th house is sudden. But 8th house, 6th house, and 12th house are definitely the problem area. So for example, the Lord of the 8th sits in Trikona, it's bad. The Lord of the 6th sits in Trikona, it is bad. Lord of 9th in 6th or 8th. So Kendra, not even Kendra, the Trikonadhipati is having any connection to 8th and 6th house or 12th house will definitely bring down the horoscope. And what do you mean by this is, it's like the mark sheet is revealing that there is a problem in this area. Not that we have to predict everything and say, I mean, everything is doomed, you're doomed or something like that. Instead of that, you should say, I now know that I'm, these things can happen to me. So let me be more careful. 6th house is disease. And so if you find a man having planets in the 6th house and he's drinking morning, afternoon, evening, you can definitely predict he's going to have a liver problem because the 6th house deals with liver, for example. So if you really want to use this, apart from science, even a doctor could have said that, but here you can predict this much before the event. And so you should start telling right from the time a person is a child, see, you're prone to these things, so you better be careful. Like for example, if the 5th lord is in the 6th house, the Maharishi says, so 5th lord is in the 8th house, he says pulmonary disorders, cough and heart and lung problem. So that means the person should never get into smoking, because it's just common sense that when you smoke along with this combination, then it is definitely going to create a problem. So 6, 8, and 12 is the key to understand our past life sins. And unlike what we normally call as, these houses create Viparita Raj Yoga, Maharishi Parashara has not accepted all the combinations. So please be very careful by using Viparita Raj Yogas connected to 6, 8, and 12. Okay? Yeah.
Right.
Do you suggest everyone to consult moving from Mercury to Ketu Mahadasha, irrespective of planetary? Maybe that's an exaggerated statement, but almost 80% of the time, people have been taken by surprise, the transition from Mercury to Ketu. But I also found Ketu Mahadasha hit hard the person who's an atheist, who has no faith. So that makes all the difference. And usually in the last portion of Mercury, they make a big mistake. What I call as they bite the bait, so they swallow it and then they struggle with it. So the temptation comes in the last part of Mercury. And if you find somebody at that time, you should say, no, wait, be careful. I know of a man who put all his money into a business just at the end of Mercury. And in Ketu, he went through nightmare. Okay, he had about 40 arrest warrants on him. And he came to me at the Ketu fag end, but I told him, you've done the mistake in the last part of Mercury. So that's why I always tell people you should be very careful at the transition stage. But all dasha endings and dasha beginnings, you have to be very careful because it's equivalent to a crossroad.
Right. For the people, please try to stick to the question related to the topic, so it will be useful. Try to minimize the general questions.
After how many years horoscope of children should be studied? Actually, there is no such thing. In ancient times, infant, what we call as infant mortality is very high because there was no vaccination and, medical, the medicines were not so good. So uh, children used to die. And the toughest thing for an astrologer is to find the lifespan of a person. Let's admit that. Even Maharishi Parashar admitted that. And Vashishta and Brihaspati, they all admitted it's so difficult, so complex, the longevity calculations. So when people took the horoscope of their child who's just 1 year old or 2 year old, the astrologers used to tell them, go and come after 8 years. Because they always thought 8 years is a gap. Like 0 to 8 is called Balarishta. And so when they saw this, they'll say, please come after some time. What they actually wanted to say was, let's see if the child is surviving. Okay, so don't waste my time. Go away. That was the idea. But now it's all changed. But with royal family members, it is not the case. As soon as a child was born, the horoscope was studied, as happened as what happened in case of Prince Siddharth, who later on became the Buddha. His horoscope was read on the same date he was born. Between mantra chanting, donation, gemstones, how do you rank these astrological remedies? Gemstones come last because it's just about like a catalyst, 5%. Okay. Donations and giving away is on the top. And all the other things come in between. So the highest is donations, because most of the sins that we have acquired in the past is only because we have taken. Okay, what belonged to others. Mahabharata is all about that. Or Ravana took away Sita, Rama's wife, etc. So it's always about taking away. So taking away opposite is donations. Give it back. So donations will be on the top. And yeah, why is it very difficult for astrologers to differentiate with delay and denial of marriage or childbirth? Okay, they're all connected. So when will you say denied? It's only a matter of, it's a function of time. Suppose a person is unmarried at 30, will you say his marriage is denied? No. So it's all about time. So initially it starts off as delay and then becomes finally denial. That's the reason it's very difficult for astrologers. But there are rules for it's all related to the 12th house more than the 7th house. Usually the one who will never get married will have the 12th lord in the 12th. Okay. Or 12th lord in the 6th. But that's not the only thing. You need other combinations, which you normally use it for delayed marriage. And then when you stack up, if you get lots of them in one horoscope, take for example, K.N. Rao never got married, the famous astrologer. He has the 12th lord in the 12th. I have lots of people having 12th in the 6th and 12th in the 12th, not married at all. Even if they get married, the marriage will fail, and after that they will take a decision not to marry again. It's not so difficult. Okay. What makes someone know about karma and take steps versus someone who? What makes someone know about karma and take steps versus someone who can't do anything? I can't understand the question. Can we skip that?
Sure.
Or do you think you can rephrase this question? If you rephrase
Yeah. So, do you hear me?
Yeah. Please
Yes.
go ahead.
Yeah. So maybe I didn't type it correctly. So my question is like, some people know about the karma, come to astrologer, and then know what to remedy, right? And then they take steps, and then they get out of it. But some people doesn't even go to astrologer, or like their life becomes the fate, right? So what makes someone to know, have the awareness versus someone cannot get an awareness and come out of it?
No, it's only about a decision they've taken. It's a choice. So they just use the free will. There is no karma for that. It's not part of karma. It's because they wanted it and they got it. And some will not want it. It's an attitude problem. It's not already predestined. Then that will be too much. Then you will say that everything is prefixed once again. Because then they're not going to change at all. And then because they're not going to change, they're not going to change. And then they're not going to change. It will always be like that. You understand? So I remember a person coming, for a direct consultation, and he wasn't well educated. So I told him, Maharishi Parashara says you should donate a black cow in charity during this time because you're going through this certain period. I showed him, I said it's there in the book, but obviously he didn't know to read English. And he told me, okay, Maharishi says I have to do it, but will I do it or not? Does he say that? I said, no, he's asking you to do it. No, sir, not that. Does he also mention in that sloka whether I will do it or not? So it's almost the same thing that you're asking. Okay.
Okay, let me mark it completed.
Yeah. Does Kal Sarpa dosha exist?
Do you want to answer?
What does it
or-
mean? It's okay. I somehow don't believe in this because I feel anyway there is a Rahu Ketu dosha on the same horoscope from a different point of view. Kala Sarpa is just another name, but I don't think it's it occurs so frequently. So
Right.
really
What
not
I
useful,
believe,
yeah.
probably what I believe is Kala Sharpa dosha has been mentioned very heavily in the Brigid Shanmita, the mundane
Brihad
astrology.
Samhita. Okay,
Exactly.
okay. Maybe in
So-
mundane, maybe, yeah. From there it could have got imported to the. But I
That-
feel whatever happens is still the Rahu Ketu falling on a particular axis on the horoscope from point of view of their lagna. And
Right.
that is where that gives you more clue. If you want to use the word Kala Sarpa, yoga or dosha or whatever, and you still have to relate it back to the axis in which it falls. Which does it fall on 1-7 axis or does it fall on 2-8 axis or 3-9 axis and 4-10 like that? Okay. So many variables in predicting. Okay,
it went down.
we have one more. Okay, is it true that if the 6th house contains only malefics, it's actually a good thing? Normally, this is this is transit actually. Transit of planets, malefics in the 6th house is very good. All planets. But when you get to reading the horoscope, this rule doesn't work very well. Okay, the 6th house is definitely not good, even for malefics. But apart from this natural malefic nature, you need to connect back to the lords of houses. Now, who are the planets in this house? So is it the 4th lord in the 6th house, or is it the 9th lord in the 8th house? So you'll have to add some more extra parameters and then judge, not simply saying it's good or not. For example, if you say Saturn in the 6th, I've seen a lot of people going through endless suffering with the stomach pain. I met a doctor who said, I don't know what I've done in the past life. It's coming so fiercely. The pain comes in the stomach. I can't even stand. It's almost like putting a spear inside somewhere and shaking it. I don't know what it is. And I've done the scan, everything, but nothing visible at all. So don't use it just like that. You'll have to go through the horoscope and then say whether malefics in the 6th house is good. Okay. So many variables in predicting how to believe in it. Yeah, that's definitely, we have lots of issues there. We can.
Okay, let me give that. You want to answer that? You want to give some more insight on that? Because I see.
I can say that life is so complex. That's the reason. But in spite of all these complex things in predicting, how do people make predictions? It's impossible. You understand? So I used to say that a physicist cannot do that, a chemist cannot do that, a doctor cannot do that. Nobody can do that except an astrologer. Of course, I think yogic people can do it. Like I think Mahavir Jain made around 350 predictions without a horoscope, and all of them turned out true. Not even one miss. So people can do that. Jesus Christ kept predicting everything. So you have lots of people like Shirdi Sai Baba used to, predict, and everything used to happen exactly. So it's not that astrology is the only tool. You have so many tools, but whatever it is, the very fact that things are predictable is still possible. So you cannot skip it up by saying with so much confusion, how do I believe it? Sometimes, you should always allow some error also. Like I think with regard to science, they say if it works 80%, it is scientific. So 20% error, you can always have it. if you look at Magnus Carlsen, who's playing chess at that level, a computer which thinks about 3 million moves per second, he can defeat it, which means he's extraordinary. But how do you explain he can lose games also? Sometimes you make mistakes. So astrologers can also make mistakes. And the variables are there. But if an astrologer sticks to one system, he will get to see the light at the end of the tunnel. But if he keeps switching systems, sometimes in KP system, sometimes in Jaimini Sutra, then sometimes in Parashara, this, that, and keeps on changing from this to that, it will become very difficult. If someone steals a purse from me, I've probably stolen from that person in some past life. Now, will someone steal from this thief in his next life? No, it's actually one to one, and that's it. It will get squared up. There won't be any continuity to it.
Let me mark it.
Saturn in the 9th house, since he delivers justice, what is his,
Okay, I think it
okay.
went down.
Oh, if Saturn is in the 6th house, is it bad? If ascendant is Saturn itself, I think you meant to say ascendant Lord is Saturn himself, then also should it be considered bad? Yes, in fact, it should be considered more because it is the ascendant Lord sitting in the 6th house. Whenever the ascendant Lord sits in the 6th house, Maharishi Parashara says, the person will be having physical problems, health problems. Okay.
Let me mark it. People, please try to stick to the questions related to karma, so that will be more.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Yeah,
If a planet is placed in 12th house, this is more about astrology, I think. Okay. If a planet is placed in 12th house away from 12th house, away from its own house, will it also indicate denial in the result related to that house? No, this is a very
generic.
it's a very undependable idea. It's not, doesn't work all the time. Okay.
Let me mark it.
One question. So people who are born in Cancer, Leo, is it the last Janma? Whenever you ask some questions like this, you just find out what is the frequency of people taking birth in Cancer ascendant. There are only 12 ascendants, and 1/12 of the world's population will be Cancer ascendant. So 1/12 of the world's population will disappear. The population will come down so fast. In less than 12 cycles, there won't be anybody at all. Okay. It's not true. Don't use single lines to say anything. Very general statements. Like if Ketu is in the 12th house, it's moksha. Again, the same idea. 1/12 of the world's population will have Ketu in the 12th. Okay. So Saturn in 9th house, since it delivers justice, what is his role in the house? What is he teaching? Saturn in the 9th, normally says Bhrigu, okay, by looking at what the ancient people gave as prayashchit, you can actually work backwards and reverse engineer and find out what you might have done. Just read Bhrigu Sutram. You will see Saturn in the 9th house. He says rebuild dilapidated temples and set up bathing places for people and involve yourself in Goshala, which is cow shelter. So it obviously means you must have done something adharmic. 9th house is dharma, and Saturn there means adharma. Against God, you did something. And I think somewhere around 37 or 38th year is the trigger point. After that, life will get very bad for people who are having Saturn the 9th. And by the time they should have done this, they should have changed their lifestyle. They should have become a believer of God and a believer of justice, karma, everything. And then they can save themselves from trouble. Otherwise, Saturn in the 9th is definitely a minus. Wearing a gemstone for a planet which is strong is unfavorable position, exalted. No, simple. You are supposed to wear gemstones related to planets that are considered as functional, benefic only. So for Mithuna Lagna, there's only one gem. You only have Venus, diamond as the only gem. For Kumbha Lagna, the only gems allowed are blue sapphire and diamonds, because Saturn and Venus alone are benefics. Simply, as long as it is benefic, you are allowed to wear. But out of the benefics, whichever is the weakest of the two or three, you should wear that gem. What is the difference between karma and free will?
Sorry to disturb. So my question is like, so for example, take Aries Lagna, for which Lagnadipati is the 8th Lord. So if it is at 8th position or at 12th light, So if we having health problems or something like that, in that case, wearing a gemstone, whether it will aggravate or it will solve the issue for the karma, like I'm asking.
Even though it's Lord of Eighth, you have to ignore the Lord of Eighth because it is only going to give the result of Lord of First House because that is a smaller Trikona. And the best way to understand this is read the chapter concerning the good and bad planets for each Lagna as given by Maharshi Parashara. It is like as though Maharshi himself did not know it is Lord of Eighth. He knows, right? He's the biggest person. So he knows. So it means that when he says it is either neutral or a benefic, and if you know the rules, the general rules at 159, 14710 rule, and it's not the sixth lord or the third lord, or maybe it doesn't own two bad houses like the lord of 3 and 6 for Aries ascendant. You shouldn't wear an emerald at all. You shouldn't wear a diamond because it's the lord of 2 and 7. You shouldn't wear a blue sapphire. And if it is weak, you're supposed to strengthen it. It's like your friend is not doing well. And so will you punish him or strengthen him? So you make him stand up. Your friend is weak. You make him stand up. Okay.
So what is the difference between karma and free will? That's the next question.
What is the difference between karma and free will? The best way is to think of a position which is the, let's say, on the chessboard, the 18th move. You already moved some pieces. Now all those pieces is like your karma. Okay. You cannot say, no, I don't want them here. Okay. To the opponent, you can't say that. But now you still seem to have lots of things, possible on the board. You can move this bishop there or that. But there is a limitation, right? Because already some things have happened. You can't do everything. So if you watch the players, like World Championship, if you want to predict what is the next move, most people can tell what is the next move because they know only this is possible. So, but even in that, there is a choice. You can move this here or that and not so much free will. So karma seems to be limiting us. Okay. Karma seems to be limiting us.
Okay. Let me mark it completed.
Whatever karma we do in this life, whether it is good or bad, will we get the result of that karma in the same birth, or is it rolled over to the next birth? As soon as you make a transaction in the bank, it immediately affects the bank balance. Okay. But if there is a huge loan, you can't finish the loan. But every time you make a transaction, it will affect the balance. Either it will be minus or plus. So with every action, the actual net karma changes. It is in a state of constant change. So this moment, if you do a good action, it will definitely have a ripple effect. And don't have to wait all the time. But sometimes the backlog is so much that it will take time to alter the results of what is coming up from the past. There's no actual answer to this because it all depends on, let's say 5 people have loans in the bank and we are all trying to solve their problem. One will say, I've been working very hard, I've been paying, but I have a huge loan. So it's not emptying itself. I still have the loan. Another person will say, yeah, I worked for 5 years, very hard. That's equivalent to Prashchit. And then my loans got over. Now I'm a happy person. So every moment it will work. There are the 6, 8, and 12 lords in my house. There are 6, 8, and 12 lords in my house. From the karma, does it mean that I did? No, I don't understand. Okay. Lord in my first house. Okay. The lord of 6, 8, and 12 are in my first house. No, this is not so bad. Don't worry about it. But if you have lots of good houses in these houses, like 6, 8, and 12, it's very bad. Okay. Toughest thing to understand is aspects and difference between Lagna and positions of the moon. Difference between Lagna and position of the moon. How does it?
Well, I don't think there is no relation between karma and.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are couples with one of them having Kujadosha, they have kids. One of them having Parashara says Jupiter cancels. If not, we can change karma. Actually, I don't know what you actually wanted. Kujadosha is all about marriage, not about kids.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. They say karma done by my grandfather comes to you. No, it's not true. Nothing is transferable like that. But in the other hand, you take birth in a family having some possibilities based upon your karma. It look as though the grandfather transferred it to you. Okay.
The best way to understand is like we need to understand the type of karma also, like Sanchita, Prabdha, and Agami. Like somebody
Yeah.
asked, like if it gives the result in the same birth or the next birth, that depends upon the how much Prabdha you get in this present life. If the
Yeah, sometimes
Sanchita,
you won't have a gap. You won't have a gap here. Sometimes you have a gap, it will get done here. If there is
right,
no gap, you will get it elsewhere.
right, exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
If the Sanchita is too heavy, then
Yeah.
you may not see able to see that
Mm.
nullifying that in the Prabdha itself. So I think we are come to the end of Q&A. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for asking so many insightful questions. So before we wind up, I wanted to have one more poll here just to get how the session was.
So I've learned a lot from you, Muthu Vijayan, the way you conduct these classes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
What? How well do you understand today's topic? 94%. Okay.
We'll wait a few more minutes.
The counter is how many people respond to this form, right? Okay.
Exactly. 18 is the total response so far we got.
Okay.
Out of which 94% says 5 and 6% say 3.
What is 3?
3 is the rating. Like
Oh,
they
it's
rate
only
us.
rating. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. With respect to the understanding the topic.
Exactly. Exactly. So before we close, do you want to give any additional inputs, Dilip sir? Like anything you want to add before we close the call?
I always tell continue to do research on your own horoscope because you have lots of time to do that. If you take it to an astrologer, the astrologer's time is limited, and you could list out all the major events in your life as long as you remember them, and try to see what could have triggered it. And using those parameters and whatever you see the pattern, you can use it for future predictions. And also you will understand that your life is being, it's not just like how whatever you want to do you can do. There is some plan. That's why they call it the planets, the plan of the planets. So we are not just going randomly anywhere. So it gives a beautiful sense that everything is being documented. Something is watching us, and so we better be good people, and our next life is getting prepared right now. And we will say, oh, that's only next life, I'll take care of it next life. I remember saying the same thing in class. They used to say in future you will struggle in class, the subject you won't know at all. I said, okay, no problem, I'll see it later. And later it became very worse. So like in the same way, the past life you would have said what future life, but right now you are in that future life. The same way the next life will be there before before it is. And so in the same way, people ask, why did it happen to me? What have I done? You'll not know anything. In the same way, in the next birth also you won't know. You won't remember what you have done this time. But the system takes care of all that. All the good and the bad gets, you carry it along with you. Your type is carried along, though not sometimes a memory. So this is what the Buddha explained. When you go from one birth to another, you are one type, it seems. So becoming that type is more important. So try to be a good person. Okay, read about karma theory. Look at what Buddha said and what Sri Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita pertaining to karma, and take life seriously. That right now you will be actually preparing the future birth. How the planets are going to be in the next life. Where are they going to be placed in the horoscope? It's going to be like that. So do not think it is happening in random. That's all I can say. Okay. You are actually sculpting it. You're actually creating it. You're drawing it right now.
Great, sir. Great insight. Thank you, everyone. We are on time, actually. Anybody want to ask any more
Sir,
question?
I just want to ask you a question about are there any Vedic mantras for chanting to get a good karma?
The basic, Sri Krishna says of the mantras, I'm Gayatri. Okay, so Om Bhurbhuvasva. But I think Gayatri has 2-3 varieties, I think. If you go for
Yeah,
extended.
for every
Yeah.
planet, it has a specific Gayatri mantra.
Gayatri. Yeah. So you can use them. And the next best thing would be Mahamrityunjaya. Om Trayambagam Yajamage. Because you want moksha, but the system won't let you get moksha. You will have to go through. It's like you join school, but you want to get out of school. Correct? So what's your aim? To get out of school. But will they let you get out of school like that? They'll say, no, go through first standard, second standard, third standard. But you keep on looking at the future, like 12th. So people waste their time talking about moksha when they're very far away from it. So let's go one step at a time. And what best you can do is make yourself a good person, donate to a good level, and build your punya. Because Buddha says, only in the punya world, you will have moksha possibility. It's like, if you want to close the account, closing the account is equivalent to moksha. When can you close the account? When you have excess money, you can draw the money and throw it out and make it zero. But if you have minus, what can you do? You'll have to pay back. And the system will not let you go. Even if you say, I don't want to play this game. Bye-bye, bank, I want to go away. They will not let you. They will come after you. So there's no point just wishing for moksha or something like that. You'll have to slowly prepare yourself for that. The one big step that you can take towards that is compassion, kindness. So slow modifications to your lifestyle, trying to slowly get into more vegetarianism. Okay, so you can use astrology and astrologers just to get started. It's like the initial training that you get when you get into a gym. Somebody says you do this and do that. After that, you will walk away. After that, it's up to you to do it. And it should be persistent. Some people say, I've done some, I went to this temple and that temple. And then what happened? Like I used to ask them, if you have Rahu in the 9th and 9th Lord is in 6, 8 or 12, and that planet got severely afflicted, you have Pitru dosha. Yes, sir, I've done the Pitru Tarpanam in Rameshwaram. When? 11 years back. So people do that. So just do it once and expect everything has changed. Karma has changed. It doesn't happen like that. It has to be constant. Every new moon, you're supposed to think about your forefathers, express your gratitude. Only then it changes. You can't go to the gym one day and try to become muscular or athletic. You got to go repeatedly to make the transformation. So difficult, painful. It comes at a cost. So why gems became so popular is because with all this, you say, okay, buy a gem and wear it. It's so easy. No need for any trouble. Mantra is not like that. You have to sit down and chant. What do you get from mantra? The first thing you get is the patience, perseverance, and the faith that this can change. And so it trains you in a very different way. And then the power of the mantra itself is an additional point to consider, because these were the mantras came from extraordinary people. Okay, so it's like saying E is equal to mc squared. And with that formula, you can actually create an atom bomb. Okay, or you can create a nuclear energy. It's so powerful that just something was written on A4 paper by Albert Einstein. So that E is equal to mc squared is like our mantras. So mantras work. But if you see Maharishi Parashara's approach, he will say, do this, and also give away these things. So the mantra combines with actual donations. So I was told by one of my gurus that if you do a puja with 5 purohits, the pujaris, you're supposed to feed 500 people, it seems. But we don't do that. We only do the puja part. So combine both and have patience, wait. Sometimes it will be just a matter of dasha and antardasha. So you're going through a bad period, and after the bad period, things will get good, but you lose patience. There are many people who say, I wanted to commit suicide, but I'll tell them, you just hold on, things will change because the antardasha is going to change. Okay, so always think And don't think of suicide at all, because if the Atma gets out, it's like the school dropout, getting out of school. And when the world outside the school is worse, where everybody is dropped out. And there are no rules and regulations there. And it makes things worse for all of us. So suicide is extremely harmful. You have to go through it. And patience. So prayers actually do that. Look at the one who's praying in temples nowadays. They look around like this 100 times. They will not look there. There was so much of problems within the temple. How to get into the queue, how to use influence to get through the queue. All your thoughts are only going there. So sometimes you really don't get the benefits of a temple. Whereas sitting home, if you do puja, nowadays it looks a lot better. But there are people who can't be affected at all by the environment. They will still concentrate on the idol. So mantras, chanting, all of this is basically you're changing your attitude. You're becoming a different person. And the life of a faithless person is very difficult. So look at all the faithless people. They're all confused. They have, it's so difficult.
Right. Thank you so much, sir, for your insight. So for the students, Dilip sir have a YouTube channel where he have uploaded a lot of videos. So you will get a lot of information there. So you can always check his channel. Sir, you want to read out your channel? It's EK Dilip Kumar, right?
Yeah, EK Dilip Kumar. If you
Yeah.
go, on YouTube, just type EK Dilip Kumar, you should be able to find the videos.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
You will get a lot of insight there, and they can get touch with you. So thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. So with this, we are concluding the session.
And I thank Muthu Vijayan. This was a wonderful session. I learned a lot of things. Okay, you could have polls, and I missed out on the quiz. I didn't know how it was. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you, sir.